you signed up for the meal plans because you heard that they were super delicious, but you are allergic to tree nuts and to peanuts. And so you're like, okay, how am I going to make this work?
Right. And luckily, in one of the first emails I got from you guys, there was the substitution list.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just jumped into that because I had to substitute a lot of things. And the biggest one that I use the most is substituting the Yukon Gold potatoes for cashews, like in cheesy sauces and dressings and stuff. And that works perfectly. So that's kind
So
of
how do
my
you do that?
go-to.
Do you cook the potatoes first and then you just have them on hand to sub, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so usually, I guess by how much cashews are supposed to be in there, about how much potatoes I'll need. Then I just throw them in the microwave and cook them
Hmm.
that way, and then
Hmm.
I weigh them out, well, after they're cooked and use the same weight.
That's really good. That's a great tip. I think that's going to help a lot of people actually. So, and I can see how you would get that creamy effect from the
Mhm.
cashews by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I always whenever I see somebody post about something with nut allergies, just because I know how hard it can be.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "You could do this. It's still delicious."
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I
Yeah.
loved. I mean, when you posted the other day, you were so helpful and so optimistic and like, it's okay. Don't let your allergies get you down. Cause we do have a lot of people who do have allergies, and I developed a couple weird allergies as an adult as well. And so I know that it's weird because you can go your whole life with nothing. And then all of a sudden it's like, like beetroot, for example. If I eat too many beets, like my lips get strange. And so
Wow.
it's really random. Seems random anyways. And so I really liked your post because you were really encouraging and you're like, hey, I made this work. So how long have you been getting the meal plans?
Let's see, I think it's been a little over 6 months now.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm. And so for you, you just look through and so it's mainly peanuts and tree nuts. Are you allergic to anything else, or are those the two big ones?
those are the 2 big ones. So, like, the cashews, I do the Yukon Gold potatoes. In a lot of the patties, there's, like, chopped walnuts
Hmm.
that I usually use, pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, depending on what I have on hand.
Hmm.
And then sometimes there's just nuts sprinkled on top, and I just leave that out.
Hmm. Yeah, that's easy enough to
Yeah.
do. Yeah. So you are making them work and you are still finding that they are delicious and they hit the spot.
Oh, yeah, they're super delicious. I know I make some funny noises when I eat them sometimes, and my family laughs at me.
So are you cooking for yourself, or are you cooking for anybody else in your family, or is it just you?
So I've been cooking for myself, and actually in the last week or so, I'm cooking for the whole family. Because I used to cook them their separate meals,
Mm.
because let me tell you, my daughter, she's offended that vegetables exist. So,
Not an
but
easy sell, huh?
no, but so this week, we have some health issues, and so we're trying to get the whole family to really buckle down and do the whole food plant-based.
Hmm.
So I'm cooking for all of them, and so went back to the trial plan,
Yeah.
and so far they've really loved the food that I've cooked. They've been shocked because they're definitely hardcore omnis,
Yeah.
um, and they've said it still tastes delicious, which is great. It's a
Awesome.
lot easier sell because I've tried to do it with other meal plans before, and
Hmm.
they've been like, "This is weird."
Yeah. So what inspired you to try eating whole food plant based? Like, and how long ago was
Mm.
that?
Well, so I've been off and on between vegetarian and vegan for at least 10 years now.
Hmm.
Um, Mostly for animal rights is what started it out for me is I couldn't deal with, you know, eating a living being.
Mm.
And then but I struggle with cheese. But
You are not alone in that, my friend.
yeah. And so I've been trying off and on to do the whole food plant-based for probably about 4 or 5 years now.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I have food addiction issues, so I struggle a bunch with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just keep trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you do, right? Just got to keep
right.
trying. I mean, so so you're vegetarian and vegan for like 10 years, and then you're kind of going more and more towards plants, more and more towards plants. And so have you found that like the more plants you eat, have you found that helps in your life in certain areas, in certain
Y-
ways?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot more energy
Mhm,
when I'm eating just the plants.
mhm,
And when I'm not falling into the vegan junk food trap.
mhm,
Um, it definitely a lot more energy, and I struggle with just environmental allergies too, not just my food allergies,
mm.
and it helps with those too.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of other people who that's the same, like they would have really bad seasonal allergies. And then once they started eating whole food plant-based, they kind of noticed their allergies like were gone eventually. And they're like, wait, I don't have allergies anymore. So I definitely have heard that as well. Um, yeah, and I imagine, I mean, I think the thing with whole food plant-based eating is, and I think one of the reasons why a lot of whole food plant-based recipes aren't as satisfying is because there's not that fat component, but I think that fat component is really important.
Mhm,
And so that's why a lot of our recipes have nuts, because I think that
mhm.
that adds the mouth feel and that kind of satisfaction. And if you can't have
Yeah.
the the nuts, then
Mhm.
that does add that little layer of complexity. So it's so cool that you found something that works from you and that you still are satisfied with the recipes, because we definitely put a lot of emphasis on like spices as well and
Mhm.
different textures. And I think that for a lot of people, when they make this switch to this way of eating, they assume that it's going to be very boring and very bland. And I don't think it doesn't have to be that way
No.
at all. So were you used to cooking? Like, is cooking new for you, or do you enjoy cooking? Was that something new when you kind of changed how you ate?
So I got more into cooking the last 4 or 5 years. I've been batching in a bunch of different ways,
Okay.
off and on, and, I enjoy cooking. I also know I need to cook,
Yeah.
but, I have to say the recipes on these meal plans are great with the spices, and, I've been on some others where I felt like I had to double or triple all the spices,
Mhm.
and definitely not on yours.
Right. I know. We're heavy-handed with the spices. We really are. And it's, spices are so healthy too. They have so many
Mhm.
antioxidants. So it's a good thing. But I understand that, I mean, it really is like if you want to eat this way, you really do have to get in your kitchen and cook.
Mhm.
Like you just can't, or I mean, even, and I know where you live, I know that there's some restaurants that are pretty healthy, but even the healthiest ones aren't as healthy as the food that you're going to
No.
cook in your kitchen, because it doesn't have the oil, and then like exactly what you're putting into them. And
Mhm.
so I can appreciate the fact that you don't love to be in your kitchen, but you're like, I do it because I have to if I want to eat this way.
Right.
So how do you motivate yourself then to get into the kitchen and batch? I mean, do you do like a batching day, or do you do the recipes nightly? Like, what is your routine?
I do a batching day on Sunday.
Okay.
Um, and I have to say, I go and I look for Lindsay's posts on Facebook, and she always inspires me. But
Yes.
mostly it's turning on my headphones with music and kind of just getting through it. That the music makes it so much better.
Right? I think so too. Yeah. And so are you in there? Is it a solo thing you're batching, or do you recruit any of your family to help you?
Sometimes my daughter likes to come help me, but I have to admit the batches take so long that I'm usually like, okay, you can help a little bit, but I need to get this done because my feet
Right.
hurt.
Yes. Yes. Have you tried any of the simple meal plans yet?
No, I haven't. So I keep gravitating towards the gourmet ones
Yeah.
because they just look so yummy.
I understand. Yes. I
Yeah, I'm always
know.
like,
That's the struggle.
yeah, I'm like, oh, it'd be nice not to batch as long this week. And then I look at what's on the gourmet and I'm like,
It's gonna
not
be
this
worth
week.
it.
Yeah.
I know, I keep hearing that. People are like, "I really wanna do the simple plan," but every week I think I'm going to, the gourmet plan just looks crazy good, and, I mean, it's a good problem to have, I suppose, but I get it. I mean, it's so worth that time in the kitchen, especially if you love food, and I don't know, I love food, and there's different schools of thought on this, but it's been my school of thought that, like, let's enjoy our food. Let's enjoy eating, because like we have to do it. And so, and I think that there's so much pleasure to be found in good food. And I think that um, when you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, it's or not even, and I say that because that's kind of, a diet isn't even really accurate,
Mhm.
right? So it's more like a
Yeah,
whole food plant-based way of eating. I'm trying to get away from saying diet,
right.
because it's not a diet. It's not
Mhm.
about restricting or counting calories or weighing shit, or I mean, it's
Yeah.
about eating plants, and that's such a beautiful thing. So has that um I mean, are you open to talking about your food addiction?
Sure.
So when you started eating more plants, do you notice, like, has there been like a shift with that because of like the quality of the food that you're eating? Has that affected your food intake in any way?
Sometimes, like, if I'm really doing good and I'm eating a lot of different plants and getting all that extra nutrition, sometimes I'm not craving stuff as bad.
Mhm,
But then as soon as I get a taste of something else,
mhm.
then it's,
Like,
you
that's
know,
not plant-based?
that's not plant-based, then, all bets are off and I'm
I
way
see.
far
Mhm,
down the,
mhm. Down the rabbit hole.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and Um, so actually, you've been helping me a lot because I go back and read a lot of your blogs.
yeah.
And so I'm trying to adopt a way of, because I always focus on my sons. Like,
Mm,
and I get that horrible relationship with the scale where it de- it's going to tell me how I'm going to feel that day.
mm, mm.
And so I've really been trying to let that go. And I'm trying to work on this, just I'm gonna eat stuff that's nutritious and yummy, and I'm not gonna worry. Like, my body's gonna do what it's gonna do.
Yeah,
And so I'm trying.
yeah. Yeah, that's so important, right? Because if you really think about it, it's like the scale has this power over us. We give the scale so much power, and it's like the scale is just some information, and it's a number. And then we really, if we're not careful, we really make, like, allow the scale to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to have a shitty day because of a number that I saw. And it's like, whoa, it's
Yeah.
so that's really interesting. And I think for a lot of people the scale is important, and I think, if this it fine, whatever
Mhm,
works. But I always like to um gently nudge people to not have the scale dictate your mood,
mhm,
because it's just a number, it's just
yeah.
information. So yeah, I
And I
like
know
that.
for me, like, seeing that number can send me into horrible eating, which you would think it wouldn't, but it drives me more that way.
Hmm.
So I've got a new scale where, it doesn't tell me my number at all.
Hmm.
It figures out your how your body works, and then it tells you whether you're losing or you're gaining, and you're good.
Huh.
And
Okay.
that's it, with colors. And I was
Huh.
like, "Okay, it's gonna be interesting."
Yeah. Yeah, why not? Yeah, I think that that's a very common response, though, for people to see
Mhm,
the number, and then if they don't like what they see, then it's like, oh well, fuck it, it's not working, and I'm just gonna go eat whatever. I mean, that's such a
mhm,
natural response, and if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. Like, our brains are funny the way that they work, really.
mhm,
Our brains are so funny. Um, but I think we're all, I really give you a lot of props for, like, just trying, and just keeping with it. And
mhm.
it's one of those things where I don't, it takes time to find your groove. And wherever you're at is just right for you anyways, because you're learning about yourself, you
Mhm.
know? So
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah. So can you see yourself eating this way? Like, okay, so I always, however somebody wants to eat for their lifestyle, I always say, like, can you see yourself doing this for the long term? Like, can you see yourself eating like this for a long time? And most people, if they're on a diet, the answer is like, no, I don't want to
Mhm.
eat this way for a long time, because I don't, it doesn't feel good, or I feel deprived, or it's bland, or whatever. So can you see yourself eating like the majority of this kind of food for a long time?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I love the way it makes me feel, and I love that I'm being nice to the environment and the animals, it's it's just so yummy.
Yeah.
If it wasn't
Yeah.
yummy, I'd be like, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I get lost in those emotional eating my feelings type things, and unfortunately, when I'm emotional, my body doesn't go, "Oh, you're feeling bad. Let's eat some lettuce."
No,
No.
yeah, well, I don't think very many people, I think that you're definitely not alone in that either. Yes.
But yeah, I could see doing this for the rest of my life. Like, it's yummy
Yeah.
and it makes me feel good. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, and I'm stoked that you found a way to make it work. So, circling back to the substitutions, do you have any other tricks or tips that you've tried and like maybe didn't work so well, or other things, other ideas that you could throw out there, or is it
um,
mainly like the potatoes, and what kind of potatoes do you use?
Yukon Gold
Okay,
potatoes
that's you said that.
specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then whatever seeds I have on hand to substitute
Yep.
for the walnuts.
Yep.
And then like if there's peanut butter or almond butter or any of those, I substitute sun butter.
Okay, that's a good
Um
one. Yep.
and that's pretty much the biggest substitutions.
Yeah, and then so you microwave the potatoes until they're
Mhm.
soft. How long do you microwave them for?
I hit the potato button on my
Oh,
microwave.
that works. I
Yeah.
never use my microwave, so I yeah, I don't even know what buttons are on there. So and I suppose you could do it in the instant pot too. Like
Oh,
that's how I cook
absolutely.
my potatoes usually.
Mhm.
But so you cook them till they're soft, and then you weigh out the equal amount. Like if there was like 130 grams of cashews, you do
Mhm.
130 grams of potato or whatever.
Right. And I leave the skins on. I don't worry about doing anything special to them,
Yeah,
because I try and make it not onerous to make a substitution. So
yeah,
it's as easy as
smart.
I can.
Smart. Yeah, totally. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I think that's going to be really helpful, and I think a lot of people can relate to all of it, like cuz like we're all these humans and we all have our stuff, right? And so I always like to like remind people that we're not alone in this. We all have our stuff and we're all on this journey, and if we're just doing the best we can and keep going, then that's perfect.